Recent tragic events have made training a lot more important for local police and fire. Today, as part of a training exercise, 2 shooters went on a simulated rampage at the Washington State Fairgrounds in Puyallup. They pretended to be angry parents at a school. The idea was to test the abilities of police and firefighters to respond to a situation that was right out of the news headlines.
We've been dealing with this cross country for years, and each one, unfortunately, we learn new things that we need to train for and develop new skills for.
Pretty intense stuff. One of the newer tactics is to provide police cover for fire and rescue teams so they can get closer to victims.
So what's this individual talking about when he says we've been dealing with this for a while? Well, the thing is when you drop your kids off at the indoctrination camps known as schools, you know, they can do whatever they want. They're being raised by the state, and you don't really have much of a say. And if you don't do it, well, then you know you're a bad parent, and they could actually CPS your kids. You know, if you don't vaccinate them, they could possibly CPS your kids. So I mean, when I saw this video, I thought about that, and then I thought about the other point that I've made before, and I know I've made it recently, which is that that in the future, probably in the somewhat near future, maybe in the next 20 years, we're probably going to see complexes, education, re-education, brainwashing complexes. They'll call them, of course, you know, education complexes, but they'll have everything there. They'll have malls, they'll have free Wi-Fi, they'll be completely like a gated community, and they'll wear like whatever RFID chips to where they go. It'll be completely surveilled, completely tracked. In fact, they probably won't even want to leave there, the students. They probably won't even want to leave there. They'll get visitation rights on the weekend with their parents, and like I said, at that particular point, the family's already broken. I mean, to me, I see it. It's not completely broken yet, but they're getting there to the point to where kids aren't going to want to even see their parents on the weekend when they get visitation rights. So this was a pretty interesting little video here, because eventually, like after all this shooting, people just fell for it. You know, quote conservatives. Oh yeah, you know, armed guards and stuff like that. What was the whole thing about that the NRA was proposing? It was basically to help create the security of the schools. So it's to keep the parents out and to keep the children in. This is part 3 for this news report or news bulletin today for Monday, May 13th, 2013. I'm Darko, and I'm ready to go here. Montgomery County asked residents to hand over their guns. This is, of course, a gun turn-in day. They handed over 111 guns, 11 BB guns, 10,000 rounds of ammunition, and a grenade at Saturday's statewide gun turn-in day. So, included at least one AK-47. They say it was a successful day. It says here that it was organized by State Attorney General Doug Gansler in coordination with local police departments. So it says here where residents could anonymously hand over their unwanted firearms and ammunition. So there was no incentives, no money incentives. One guy said, have had that in the closet forever. He says it's just time to get rid of that stuff. So like someone said, you know, how much are they worth? They don't even know. It's like, you dumbasses, why don't you sell it, you know? You know, you're lucky that you didn't have to pop somebody in the head for intruding in your house or trying to, you know, rape your family or something like that or do you harm. You should be happy about that, but it doesn't mean that you may never need your firearm ever again. Put in a lock, teach your children how to handle them, that it's not a toy, and just leave it there. Forget about it until you may need it. Mayor announces outreach effort on gun violence. Today, the mayor, Majin, this was actually from May 7th, announced an outreach effort to inspire conversation among the youth of Seattle about gun violence. So, it says here they're launching a contest called Weapons to Words to ask children in Seattle to come up with a short quotation on the subject of gun violence. Plaques, these peace plaques made from metal, upcycled from guns, recovered from future Seattle gun buyback programs will feature quotes from Seattle students about what a violent-free future means to them. Does it mean no government intrusion into their lives by force? No. They just mean no violence between, no violence from the plebes aimed at the state who's encroaching on their freedom. and also no violence, no plebe on plebe, slave on slave violence. The war on 3D printing begins, says it was inevitable. A technology like 3D printing that essentially puts cheap labor, manufacturing, and retail all in the same place upon one's desktop. Yeah, the NRA, which represents, like I said, represents the gun manufacturers, the big ones. They don't like this as well. Spells the absolute, utter, and permanent end to monopolies and unwarranted power and influence of the corporate financier elite who have lorded over humanity since human civilization began. So, says the pretext used to begin this war is a 3D printed gun built and demonstrated by Defense Distributed in Austin, Texas. After designing, printing out, and firing the 3D printed gun, the U.S. State Department demanded that the designs distributed for free on the internet be taken down, claiming that by posting the designs on the internet, arms export bans may have been violated. The UM Arms Treaty, right? This is the same government that is on record openly shipping arms, cash, and military equipment to its own listed terrorist organizations. Distribution of censored 3D printable gun files continue despite State Department demands. It says, I think we will win in the end because the files are all over the internet. The Pirate Bay has it. To think that this can be stopped in any meaningful ways to misunderstand what the future of distributive technologies is all about, said the founder of Defense Distributed. Then you have how Mail on Sunday, I guess Mail Online, printed first plastic gun in UK using a 3D printer and then took it on board Eurostar without being stopped in a security scandal. So again, this is a nice little PSYOP propaganda piece for you, for the plebes to read. Weapon capable of firing a live round smuggled onto the packed Eurostar. They pass unchallenged through the airport-style security system. So maybe we need more security, right? Maybe we need to get rid of these guns. A pistol produced using 1,700 pounds machine to print its components. So, yeah, that's, don't worry about the Christmas Day bomber who is aided by the CIA, had a handler, was flagged, much like the Tsarnaev brothers, flagged a different security risk. And what? They still somehow are able to go and carry out their little operations that are aided by the government. What? So they can clamp down more on your freedoms. It's pretty obvious. I don't think I even need to say it at this particular point of the game. But it's just a nice little game. It's not even a game, but it's a nice little system that is used. Again, just as long as the government can carry out violence, have a monopoly on violence, and they could have a monopoly on terrorism. They can be associated carrying out terrorist attacks, but nobody else can do it. So, Zionist Jews are at the forefront of advancing gun control in the United States. It said it's time to call out the scumbags who have historically been mostly responsible for promoting gun control legislation and what has been an obvious attempt to destroy the Second Amendment at the forefront. Says most of these people are Zionist Jews. Even though this is a proven fact, there will undoubtedly be a number of pro-Zionist internet trolls who will cry racism, anti-Semitism, and other rubbish to distract people from the obvious. Considering that Jews represent only a small percentage of the American population, why is it that many of the most vocal supporters of gun control just happen to be Zionist Jews? Says that's a serious question that needs to be asked, as it shows that a small minority of people are attempting to make it increasingly more difficult for the average law-abiding American citizen to defend themselves. And of course, you got these, like I've mentioned before, useless idiots that are non-Jews, that are non-Zionist, and really they're Zionists. They don't even know it. That's Benjamin Netanyahu even says, we need these useful idiots to push our agendas here. So Senator Dianne Feinstein is a prominent advocate of gun control. She's also a Zionist Jew. Says looking at some historical examples, says the 1968 Gun Control Act was introduced in the U.S. House of Representatives by a Zionist Jew named Emanuel Seller. Eventually signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson, prohibits the direct mail ordering of firearms and imposes broad regulations on firearm transfers. It says here it followed several high-profile assassinations, the most notable being the killing of JFK. So it says here that Roger Stone has recently claimed that LBJ arranged the assassination of JFK. In the 80s and 90s, Senator Howard Metzenbaum, another Zionist, would support or sponsor a myriad of gun control bills. Most notable was the support of the Brady Bill, which instituted a federal background check on firearm purchases. So it goes on here, says, interesting enough, the bill was introduced in the U.S. House by then Congressman Chuck Schumer, another Zionist Jew who still today is a huge supporter of gun control efforts through his activities. Early 90s, Senator Herbert Kohl, another Zionist Jew who supported the Gun-Free Schools Act, which made it unlawful to have a firearm in schools. The bill was passed as part of a Crime Control Act of 1990, but was later overturned by the Supreme Court for being unconstitutional. In 1995, an amended version of the Gun-Free Schools Act would be pushed ahead by a quartet of Zionist Jews, including Senator Feinstein, Senator Arlen Specter, Senator Herbert Kohl, and Senator Frank Lautenberg. Senator Barbara Boxer, also known as Barbara Levy, another Zionist Jew, would introduce the American Handgun Standards Act. It sought to apply more stringent standards to domestically manufactured firearms. And of course, all these same people, Lautenberg, Kohl, they're all strewn through different and other legislation. Let's not forget about Mr. Joe Lieberman. So he wanted a federal assault weapons ban. Then you have Michael Bloomberg, makes all kinds of statements demanding more gun control. And our big buddy, Rahm Emanuel of Chicago. Cops beat woman for filming another beating. Baltimore police beat up a woman, smashed her camera for filming them beating up a man, telling her, "You want to film something, bitch? Film this," the woman claims in court. NYPD sergeant says guilty until proven innocent is just the way we pay for a free society. A recent article dealing with teenagers, terrorism, and social media in a Christian Science Monitor article. It says here that it focused on the recent Cameron DeBrazio arrest for making terrorist threats via some improvised rap lyrics posted to Facebook. Sergeant Ed Mullins of the NYPD shows up to make some very disturbing statements about your rights and responsibilities as a mere citizen. It starts out with the worst kind of policy and goes downhill very fast. So, but it says using a zero-tolerance approach to track domestic terrorists online is the only reasonable way to analyze online threats these days, especially after the Boston Marathon bombing. So it says, the way law enforcement agencies approach online activity that appears sinister is this: if you're not a terrorist, if you're not a threat, prove it. Yeah, and in the court system where money rules, yeah, good luck with that. Auditor says 100,000 dashcam videos disappeared from the SPD database. More than 100,000 dashcam videos have disappeared from the Seattle Police Department, prompting city investigators to recommend the department to do a better job of tracking and saving those videos. Where you're beating up skateboarders or something. Britain, secrets of 27 million mobile phones offered to police and corporations. The data of 27 million mobile phone users has been offered for sale to the Metropolitan Police, private companies, and other bodies, enabling them to track users' movements. It says here, one of Britain's biggest research firms has been caught offering text and call records for sale. They claim in meetings that every movement by users can be tracked within 100 meters. Says here they've been paying for some of the conversational data. Documents to promote the data reveal that it includes gender, age, postcode, websites visited, time of day, text is sent, and location of customer when the call is made. So it says they state that people's mobile phone use and location can be tracked in real time with records of movements, calls, and texts also available for the previous 6 months. Police drone crashes into police. The Montgomery, Texas Sheriff's Office has a big day planned to become the first department in the country with its own aerial drone, $300,000. They were ready for a nice photo op, and then the drone crashed into a SWAT team. It's karma's a bitch. It says British police seeking to introduce water cannons to streets. They want to introduce water cannons to the UK streets in the future attempts to control unrest. They actually want to ban protest altogether there. Indian police use water cannons against anti-corruption protesters. And it's a lot better than shooting out crap. Crap cannon. Israel sprays putrid liquid for crowd control, collective punishment. Go there and check it. Israel blames Chomsky, Noam Chomsky, for hawking withdrawal from Perez conference. It says hawking is a reminder that even Shimon Peres, with his PR campaign to beautify the ugly face of Israel, has its limits. And he goes through there, and it's pretty real, all the stuff that he goes in there about Palestinians, what Israel's doing to them. Talking about double standards here, UK spyware used against Bahraini activists. So I'm all about democracy, right, and clamping down the regimes. Well, the UK, what? It says here, UK spy technology was used against British citizen in Bahrain. New evidence has been filed. So it says Bahrain king says to the UK, has anyone asked you to leave? King considered the relation between his regime and the United Kingdom has kept solid as it should be, and even maybe stronger. This is despite the end of the British colonization in 1971. Myanmar puppet president to visit U.S. for the first time in nearly 50 years, when he was invited in 1966 by LBJ. So it says the former premier surprised even many skeptics by launching a raft of reforms after taking office in 2011 in the wake of controversial elections, freeing hundreds of political prisoners and relaxing censorship. It was all BS. Like I said, they have Buddhist monks that are carrying out ethnic genocide against Muslims. Or Nobel Peace laureate, this Suu Kyi, who has a seat in Parliament, is doing nothing about it either. And we said this, remember LBJ had Kennedy killed, And Malcolm X's grandson has been killed in Tijuana, Mexico.